Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some super juicy work in progress plan from Wargaming. This is top secret NDA embargo, yada yada. This is what we were summoned to St. Petersburg for. This is what we were discussing about. And it's going to be a long video. And you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of crazy things. Some good, some bad. A lot of the things mind-blowing. I will do my best to explain everything as best as I can. You will be seeing a lot of paragraphs, spreadsheets, words, pictures, some video clips, all of that stuff. There will be no actual gameplay footage. Well, there some, but not the kind of that you're used to. This is a different video. This is the first and the, well, not last, hopefully, but this is the first time that Wargaming actually did this. It's super interesting. It's mind-blowing. Stick with me, sit back, and listen. Don't forget, you can always pause the video to actually observe some of these paragraphs. Like I said, it's going to be a long video, and I won't be going through all of them in detail. So feel free to observe them on their own. We will be going through a couple of different sections, like balancing progress, like CV rework, and a brand new mind-blowing feature. I'll just use this opportunity to thank Wargaming for having us. This was an awesome experience. We definitely don't agree on certain steps that they're about to take, and we definitely agree on certain things that they're about to take. I hope you enjoy, and have fun watching and listening. Alright, so the part about how to balance. Let's go through this fast. Ship development cycle, balancing tools, and Q&A, which was performed live. I also love to point out that CE was replaced with an S by Sub-Octavian himself to call it how to balance. He embraced the joke. Anyway, the first part, search and planning. Historical and archive research. They basically have to find the blueprints, work on them, copy them, take photos. Maybe some of them they get to take home, but mostly they do not. They have to stay in the museums. They have to go in person there and spend time there. To me, as a historian, this is not very uncommon. This is not something unfamiliar. This happens all the time. Sometimes these blueprints are in very rough shape. You're not even allowed to take photos of them because it negatively influences them, their physical condition. And regardless of what your plans are to do, you know, the blueprint always comes before you and your plans. So sometimes they just have to copy paste everything or try to resketch or everything. This is, of course, if there are any sort of blueprints. We all know that there are ships that never existed, only had some ideas, or they had blueprints but they never actually got created. Wargaming is not hiding that sometimes they have to jump in and make things themselves, but we're right now focusing on like if you have actually something to work. And then it's the roadmap and branch meeting. Second part is development. The 3D development itself takes some pretty long time. It can be relatively short or it can be pretty long. And then it's the content development, which is putting the proper armor, values, shapes, and then the damage models, HP, and all these sort of number things, or what they call to make the ship alive. And then the third is balancing and release, which is they have the first balance, then production test cycles, and release. To just quickly explain to you about this, it's easy if I just show you the picture that they made. If they think the ship is okay, if the answer is yes, they release it. Easy. If they think the answer is no, then they will do this cycle as many times as it takes until the answer is yes, so they can release the ship. If the answer is no, the ship will undergo changes, whatever the changes may be. They will do the dev blog about it. They will do production tests, which is where I presume we jump in and try to test this, including Wargaming themselves. They will analyze the statistics again, and if the answer is yes, they will release it. If the answer is no, they will keep going through this cycle. They like to call that trinity of ship balancing. I will now show you a whole bunch of paragraphs and statistics where you can just pause the video and stare at it for as long as you like, if it means anything to you. I won't be spending too much time on them because we got a lot of these to cover. But basically, for you to understand is the closer the ship is to the middle, the better, because that's the average. And they try to group ships in the middle. And this average wasn't created by them. This average was basically created by the players playing. And the overall general success is average. That's the middle. So the higher the ship goes in whatever we're talking about, like a win here, the higher the ship goes, the more overpowered it is. The lower it goes, the more underpowered it is. Alright? So here you have like relative damage. And then you have like Henry really sticking out, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And everybody else is kind of okay. Then they gave us the example of Colbert. One of the ships that is kind of disgusting. And I personally think that both it and Smolensk and a couple of others shouldn't even exist in the game. Which is something we're going to talk about a bit later. This ship is overpowered under correct circumstances. And pretty crap under others. And here you can see that in relative damage and experience, it's bottom. It's like rock bottom. Even though in good hands, this thing it will always be on top. But how much, I guess, it takes to invest, you see that it's not actually that easy or that good, on average. Then it's the feedback. What do they require in feedback? They want to know if the players truly understand what the gameplay of this ship is. This is not about Colbert right now. This is about, you know, ships in general. And is it really fun to play or not? And then, of course, they go through various different comments on various different platforms. They really try to get engaged on every possible social platform they can, from Twitch to Reddit and everything in between. And they try to get sort of a feeling for the ship from both stats and how the public feels like. Of course, are they going to accept or just dismiss certain opinions? That's entirely up to them. First of all, what are they looking? Why are they looking for this? Save the concept of the gameplay of the ship and tweak a little, which means, you know, you will just do a bit of I think we got it here somewhere. Yes, you will do some changes and you will do some cycles, yada yada, or where is it? Or discard the entire concept and do something completely different. When they say discard the concept, that means, you know, the ship is still there. They basically designed everything. Now they just need to play with values. If you can play with these values enough to make it good, I guess you could call that tweak a little. But if they need to discard the entire concept and make something new, I mean, they still have the ship designed and everything. They just need to play with those values too much, let's put it that way, to completely change the concept of the ship. Then, of course, you have ships like Udachi here. Like I said, I won't be spending too much time going through all of these and some jokes. This is basically what they were showing us live on presentations, which is why they tried to mix a bit of everything to keep it interesting. Then the concept, they gave us example of Kurfürst versus Kremlin. What I would like to point out is like the Conqueror in comparison to Kurfürst or Kremlin. Once again, the closer you are to the middle, the better. Once again, we see a friendship kind of sticking out. More of these. And then you can see on the right, before and after certain changes, how good or how bad they're performing. I mean, here you can see the Kremlin, Sovietska Rossiya, that's basically Soviet Russia, that's basically Kremlin. How it's performing. And you can see how it's performing. And now, long attempts to return to the concept of we need more changes. They will always try to do, you know, more changes before ditching the entire concept. You have watched me and other YouTubers and streamers go live with testing of this ship and you saw that this ship originally was insanely powerful. Then they nerfed it and its entire concept got shredded. It got ruined. And what the ship was supposed to do no longer was basically possible under a majority of these circumstances. So they buffed it again, and then they nerfed it, and then they're buffed it, and they're trying to get it to where it's supposed to be. And it's difficult to understand where the concept works by statistics only, which is why they try to listen to our feedback and your feedback and stuff like that. Whether they will accept it or not and how much they will actually value it is up to them, of course. You can see here direct speech from players helped, but this time it was too polarized. As a result, only our own expert assessment, a lot of battles, and getting the concept. That's, you know, at the end, it's up to them. Also, I would like to point out something about super testers and community contributors that I think is generally the public, including myself actually, was misinterpreting, was kind of not understanding this properly. People always give a lot of crap to super testers because when we get it, it's like, wow, this ship already went through the super testers and they actually gave a green light to this broken thing, or something really bad or something really good. How bad are these super testers when they're actually doing stuff like this? No, mostly super testers get to test the ships in the same time as we do on the live servers. It's just they're focused on other things. So we can't really give super testers crap for the ships being overpowered when they hit live server. That's wargaming. And even if the super testers do get to test the ship before it hits the live servers and they give a green light, they don't test how powerful it is. They basically test if the ship is even working. Like if the guns are rotating, if the guns are shooting, if the reload is correct, and yada yada. So their input on how powerful it is isn't there. Because it's not asked, or even if they do, it gets like that. We will leave that for later. But basically, we gotta stop doing that. Yes, here you can see again more stats, how it is before, how it is now, and then we get to something like Slava. We focus on the needs of the audience, both passive and active. We can't make only difficult ships. There are a lot of fans of calm gameplay, which is basically bush campers, and lost battleships are Soviets, Bourgogne, Jean Bart, Georgia. Slava is simple and clear battleship, good main caliber, poor survivability. Now this is wargaming words, and this is kind of important to understand. They want to focus on all of the audience, the ones that are sitting far in the back and the ones that are trying to go with their heads through the wall. They gave you a brawler, they gave you a sniper, they gave you something to move fast in the open, they gave you a smokescreen ship. Like, we have a general belief what we like to see out of the game, and we like to, you know, force people to actually fight. And as much as I personally think that's a good way, and that's what we should strive, Wargaming wants to satisfy all of their audience, because they know there's a lot of people who don't want to play this game up in your face. They like to play this long range. And as much as myself and a lot of other CCs would like to push them to stop printing these super long range snipers, they know that there's a huge amount of people that actually like to snipe. And let's be honest, there's more people who like to snipe than people who like to brawl. The only way to actually reshape this is to force people to brawl by cutting their ranges, by not producing any more snipers and stuff. But then you're leaving out a part of your audience, which may just in general, just stop playing the game. I guess that's what Wargaming doesn't want. So people like myself, you just have to endure this. So Slava, in eyes of Wargaming, is fine because it satisfies a big portion of the player base. And I can't, as much as I'd like, I can't pin this on Wargaming. I can pin a part because they keep making these tools for snipers and they can just stop. But they understand that their audience is not just brawlers, so why would they? I blame more the player base for playing like this. I think it's like at least 50-50. Like, Wargaming provides the tools and we use them. Wargaming has the final word here. I mean, they can easily nerf all these snipers and stop producing anymore. That way they will force you to. And no matter how big of a sniper you want to be, you won't be a very good one, or you won't be one. But then they understand that they're basically cutting out a portion of their audience. So to not spend any more time on this, we can basically expect anything. Wargaming will encourage, or no, let's not put it that way. Let's put it support anything. The full head-on brawlers, I mean, we got Kremlin after all, and the full back of the line snipers. I personally think, from a business point of view, that's a good move, and it is a company. This is business. But from like another point of view, my inner self is just screaming right now. It's like, no, please, you gotta stop doing this. But from a business point of view, like looking at it objectively, you gotta understand this is a good move. They're giving people what they want. Of course, giving people what they want, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, but hey. So here you will see some statistics of the Slava itself, befores and after the buffs, and so on and so forth. I don't want to spend, like I said, too much time just trying to explain all of this. It's pretty obvious, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can just go through these stats. You got the names here, and the closer you are to the medal, the better. The more, you know, high you go, the more powerful you are. The more lower you stay, the more less powerful you are. So you can always just pause the video and stare at these. This is the first time the Wargaming has ever released this amount of stats. So balancing tools are basically win rate, popularity, and win rate versus chip, and combat efficiency. More stats, and more stats. This particular graph, I really can't remember 100% how did they explain it, but if I recall correctly, this is the win rate of the players playing this ship, and this is how often they get, I think, that win rate with this ship. So you can see that, for example, Black is a lot more successful than Yugumo, and one of the reasons why this could be it is because, well, a lot of people, actually, good players have Black because they, you know, they got it through ranked and clan battles and yada yada, and a lot of the, you know, worst players don't have it. You can see that pretty much all the ships on this graph are kind of in the middle besides these two. Black is a very boring ship to play in my opinion, but very dangerous. And Yugumo, well, I don't know if I can really say if it's a boring or interesting, but just like Shima, in my opinion, I think a lot of bad players or worse players or just not as good players, call them whatever you like, I'm not trying to insult anyone, are thinking that this is an easy ship to play. Like, just stay in the back and spam torpedoes. Easy. Yeah, well, if you say so. And a whole bunch of more numbers. This is basically all tier 8s and their combat efficiency. You can stare at it as much as you like. I won't stop you. This will be it for this part. You can always let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Now we're moving to the next part. I actually forgot about one thing, and that's what I wanted to talk about is ships like Slava. They gave us a comparison between Kurfürst, for example, and Conqueror. Like, why has the Conqueror been stuck in such high damage numbers and yada yada? Conqueror is the ship that deals large portions of damage that is not as important as the damage that, for example, Kurfürst does. Kurfürst will mostly be focused on AP, and when he damages you, that means he's already kind of in your face and you're forced to accept the engagement, and you know, you might get sunk, something you won't be able to maybe heal because of citadels and stuff. Conqueror deals mostly damage that everybody can heal. So you can end up with 250,000 damage at the end of the game. That is still going to be less impactful than Kurfürst's 150,000 damage, because most of the damage that Kurfürst dealt was unrepairable, or people didn't have the time to use their heals because they went down too fast, because it was citadels and yada yada. And Conqueror, most of the people just played HE, and it's damage that you can heal and heal and heal and heal, and it's not that important. Which is why, this is their words, which is why, you know, where Conqueror is always stuck so high in damage, that damage is not that important. That's how they kind of describe to us. So this is the place where if you just look at the stats, you won't exactly understand everything. So you need to kind of take a look of the experience and look kind of outside of the box itself to completely understand stats. Okay, now we get to a bit more entertaining and interesting part of this whole thing. You will see once again a lot of numbers, a lot of paragraphs, a lot of stuff, but I don't want to waste my time on that. This video is going to be long anyway. I want to focus on what they told us, what certain things mean, and the impressions. Okay, so I will be still showing you a whole bunch of these things, but you know, we will try to focus on the most important things for you to understand. So let's start. First, you got these two guys. This is Ivan Komarov. This is the balance team lead, and his in-game nickname is Sir Nelson. And you have Philip Molodkovets, which is just short Phil, or Sub-Octavian. He's the live producer. These are the two guys we spent talking to the most, or entirely, when it comes to CVs. The plan. Why did we rework CVs in the first place? What does the spreadsheet say? What did we do wrong? Balancing on live. What would we do differently? Data versus feedback, and what do we do now? And Q&A. This is what we're going to be going through. Some things really fast, some things a lot slower. You know, they're trying to answer to us why did they did the rework, what was the skill gap before, what was the impact, what was the demand, how was the AA, how was the play, how was the counterplay, the difference between good and bad, all sorts of these things. Like I said, once again, if you want to pause to read through all of this nice and slow, you're more than welcome to. I will try to focus on explaining you the things that I think you might struggle with to understand. What does the spreadsheet say? This is the first very important part, and this is going to be, well, interesting, and this is going to be changing. Popularity. A chunk of players who never touched CV included them in their roster. That's after the change. Like, people who never played CVs before because they were like, what the hell is this, are now actually starting to play them. Unique weekly players with at least one battle on CV. So pre-080, which is the rework, there were 15% of players of the total player base who would basically play at least one battle a week of carriers. In 080, this jumped to 29%, so basically double. Whatever they had, they just got a whole lot more, almost. Now, after some time has passed and we're already in 08, well, we were in 084 when we were up there, now it's already 085, it dropped down to 22, and it's a lot more stable and realistic. So from 15 to 22, this is where they jumped in to kind of explain to me and the rest that it's not just 7%. This is basically 7% of the total player base. But if you look at that from 15, now they have 22, it's 50% more people actually play. Carriers at least one battle a week. So this is a significant number. In this regard, they definitely succeeded. I would love to see the numbers now in 085, where the sky is burning and carriers are useless, which is total bullshit, pardon my language. It's total BS. It's so not true. I spent 2 days playing these new carriers, and for the most part, whether I'm top or bottom tier, they're still good. The only difference is you now have to have an actual brain, and you actually have to think about who you're going to attack, when and under what circumstances. And before, you didn't. So if thinking of any sort is too much for you or for the most, then I'm sorry, but you're not going to take, I don't know, Monarch and go brawl against the Kremlin and a Kurfürst, right? You're going to be like, screw this, I'm out of here. So why would you take, I don't know, a Shokaku and go after a Des Moines and, succeed? For example. So let's continue. Here you can see the class popularity as battleships went some changes. Now they're basically skyrocketing. Cruisers were pretty high, now they're a bit lower. And then you have destroyers constantly kind of going down. Now they're kind of recuperating. And CVs before, this is all in Russian, but you can see it like, boom. And then it started plummeting, and then it started steadily going up, and now it's kind of steadily going down again. This is total amount of battles played. Of course, you can pretty much guess that these spikes are usually patches where something changes. Here you can see that class popularity, the DDs went really much down, and the CVs went really up high. I'm pretty sure you can guess when this happened. And then the thing is kind of being recuperating afterwards. They are trying to compare old CVs to new, and you will see here the effects, like direct comparisons to them. One thing you have to understand is this is one game played across different regions. Different regions have different playstyles, and most importantly, different regions focus on different things for the most part. Like Asia server, they have the highest number of games played in carriers across all other regions. They are number one when it comes to carriers, and I think Russian server is the lowest. I'm not 100% on this. So you have to balance the game for Asian server and Russian server in the same time, and all the servers in between. So putting like hard caps on 1 or 2 carriers may be fine on EU, but it's not working on Asian server. And they unified everything, and this is where it kind of gets a bit ridiculous. We were basically always asking and forcing Wargaming, can you finally unify your regions, your servers, your game, your everything? And they kind of did. So it's not really possible to balance the game and put different parameters and different rules on different regions. Now the rules go the same on all regions, which kind of, presents itself with a problem when certain region likes to very much focus on one thing while the other is like not interested. So, like I said, let's take a look at more of these kind of paragraphs. New CVs, as you can see, the skill gap, and the old CVs. For the most part, on all of these paragraphs, you will see that the old CVs were a lot more powerful than the new ones are. And we know that the new CVs actually broke damage records, but this is on average. On average, old carriers were performing a lot better than the new ones are. Now, this could be for many reasons, but one of the reasons could be that, people are still getting used to new carriers, so automatically they're worse, and worse players are playing carriers now than they did before, because it's starting to be appealing, it's starting to be more interesting to a lot bigger audience than before. And if you have so many people playing it, then of course, the skills will be a bit lower. The old carriers were, for the most part, played by like a bit better, what would you call it, class of players? I don't know. So they kind of kept the average win rate, damage, and all that stuff a bit higher. Now with the rework, everybody started relearning from scratch, so it's a bit down. But you can see that in the long run, kind of, they're getting there. Like, these carriers are definitely in better, like, looking from a statistical point of view, better now than they were. However, I do have to stress one thing out. You know how much I hate playing against carriers. At least I'm talking now to like 0.84. Like pre and 0.84. Not 0.85 and what's coming. That I will explain now. It was just not fun to play against them. It was really not fun. And as much as the stats were saying one thing, you were kind of feeling completely opposite, and that was the problem. However, I tried on their own servers 0.85 plus 0.86 plus 0.87. Like the next 3 patches at a time, now it's the current patch plus 2, what they plan to do with the AA, and they're basically focusing on counterplay. That's the whole focus. And then it's pretty funny, when the first of the 3 patches hits, everybody stops, well, not everybody, but a lot of people stop playing carriers, and carriers are immediately shit. That's so hypocritical. It's so not true. Just because you're starting to encounter problems doesn't mean that the whole class went to crap. It just shows you that how easy and overpowered they were before. And now when they're actually starting to make more difference and be closer to other classes where you have to watch who you go for, how you attack and stuff like that, people are immediately complaining. Of course they are. Here you'll see they kind of decided after a while to implement a whole new way to measure, and yes, these were the old carriers. You can see how broken stats wise they were, and what they kind of, you know, tried to do and fix later. You will see that some classes were directly influenced, and the old CVs were better balanced. Yeah, well, there you go. It doesn't even fit in the paragraph. Battle influence. Like I said, you can stare at these for as long as you like. This video is going to be way too long. And this is one of the very, very fun factors for me personally. Like damage taken is basically identical. You know, they take damage from all classes. So, I don't know. And then more numbers, and more paragraphs, and more stats with no carrier gameplays, 1 aside, 2 aside, and so on. You can stare at these for all you like. Some of the things are good, some of the things are bad, some of the things are terrible, some of the things are awesome. But this video would be hours long if I would just go and try to, in detail, describe to you every single one of these paragraphs, what they do, how are they important and stuff. I would love to focus more on their plans and what you can expect and how to deal with it. So, their words: CV popularity and retention improved, which is, you know, true. CV skill gap shortened, although they did say they want to keep some skill gaps in between the players. They still want the game to reward really good players and kind of not reward really bad players. CV battle influence. This is not regarding what I just said about CVs. This is just like in general. CV battle influence dropped significantly, and follow-up tweaks are hammering it to acceptable levels. DD class is influenced by CVs the most. They understand this. We did not ruin the game on the scale of the game. However, this is what they did wrong, and this is what they intend to try to not repeat in terms of mistakes. First, Early beta builds had a lot of stability issues. This is the problem. 2 beta iterations were spent mostly on stability, which means people did not see the real progress because there was no real progress. They were spending all their time, energy, efforts on trying to stabilize the server, the game, to not have breaking problems and issues, to make the game actually be playable, instead of spending their time on actually tweaking the damage, the scouting, the spotting, the killing potential, the yada yada. Everything that we were experiencing wasn't being changed. And we kind of felt that there is no progress. We're just seeing the same thing over and over again, even though they stay to keep changing it. This is one of the things they did wrong. Heavy balance changes during beta and tight schedule of the release. Huge change of the game overnight for the majority chunk of the audience. And insufficient informational support. The amount of data is incomparably now bigger. People do not play on live and on beta in the same way. This is true. Like when we tried to test the things on their servers, like all the CCs amongst us, people were just taking cruisers, super heavy AA cruisers, full AA builds. And then I would take a carrier to see for myself, how does this feel? And I was like, dudes, come on. I can't even approach you. Like, you're all doing super heavy anti-AA thing here. This is not going to be live on the server. As much as this is good to see that when you go full AA, I can't touch you, it's kind of, I can't really test the carrier under normal circumstances. There will be destroyers. There will be battleships. Not everybody will be AA, and so on. People learn fast. They came up with slingshots, pre-drops, and all that stuff. Still, we did underestimate the amount of post-release work needed and put excessive stress on the players as a result. Like, they understand the mistakes they did, they'll try to keep it better. And, important, what's to learn here, focus more on stability before, you let people play it, so that you can actually invest your time in balancing and not stability. Let the players in small groups and not all at once. Focus on all ship classes evenly. Let the players try the new experience on the main server in some form before changing the whole thing. This is very important. And introduce the test content at slower pace. So they will basically try to make you, well, not make you, they will try to let you play something that's game-changing, game-breaking potentially. They will try to introduce like a sandbox server. Like, for example, you have a training room, co-op, randoms, clan battles, ranked. There will be an extra thing where you will be able to go in, like Savage Battle mode, for example, perfect example. You will be able to go in there and play on the live server without having to go through any other additional downloads. You will be able to go, on that particular mode and experience something that they want to introduce, whatever that may be. So, I think that's going to be a good thing. So, for example, we would be able to play, if they did this in 080, we would be able to all go to that mode and play new carriers and be like, okay. Like the old carriers would stay on the live server, but for a patch or two, you would be able to go to a special mode where you would be able to play new carriers, and then they would still get a lot of feedback, and they would, be able to focus a bit more on stability and balance and everything while not screwing random battles. This is their plan. Spreadsheets versus fields. Not everything is in spreadsheets and not everything is in fields. They're trying to introduce more. They're trying to focus a bit more on the fields as well and not just the spreadsheets. And this is probably the most important thing that I wanted to talk about. This is the 3 patches that we tried. So, 085, while we were in St.Pete, 085 went live. So we were put behind PCs and we were allowed to try new carriers and anti-carrier gameplay, which had the computer patched all the way to 087. This is still all work in progress, of course, but 085, as I'm sure you're experiencing already, is the Aaa Dps Change to improve AA consistency and let people shoot down more planes instead of evenly damaging them. You can feel this already. A lot of people losing a lot more planes than they did. 086, if I understand this correctly, they will lower the number that the AA does, but they will increase the frequency and get rid of the AA starts unloaded myth. So basically what this will do, you can see now that if my AA range has 6 km, I enter with planes and your AA starts shooting later, and it starts shooting in slow paces, like duh, 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 duh. For example, here you will have like ta 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 ta, and you will immediately start taking small chunks of damage, which means any time spent in AA will start hurting. You won't be able to spend seconds inside without taking any damage. Instead of seeing like 250, 250, 250, 250, you will be seeing 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. You will be seeing those damage number, the interaction will be a lot bigger. So we'll see how that is. And 087, AA priority sector rework. Now you press, I think by default it's O, you get the big circle on your screen, and then you have to choose left or right green click. And then your AA needs like anything from 4 to like 12 seconds to switch from one side to the other. And then if you want to reinforce left side of the ship, after a while it will go from anything between 125 to 180%, while the other side kind of has the penalty to drop down anything between 20 and, I don't know, 75%. Two major things that are basically getting changed. This new priority sector will get activated immediately. You won't have to click twice and choose the side. And there will be no penalty. First, you will just look left wherever you're looking. When you click, it automatically gets activated. So you won't get the overlay when you click the button. You click you press and hold O, and then you have to click on one of the two. No, if I'm looking on the left side of the ship and I press O, it immediately activates it on the left side of the ship. Right side does not suffer. It still has an effective AA. Left side gets boosted for a short period of time, like 15-20 seconds. And you will see it pulsating in the bottom left. When the sector reinforcement time is done, which is 15-20 seconds, it goes back to 100% on both sides. So no penalties on one side. You don't have to click twice. You don't have to choose. You just press it and it will get activated wherever you're looking, which is usually, you know, where the planes are. And it's going to be a lot less clicking, a lot more user-friendly, I would say, I guess. I don't know if people are going to understand this easy, especially after right now you know exactly what you're doing. I have to click here, then I have to choose, then I have to click, and then it's the timer, and then I can see it. Yeah, here, I think they will need to educate the players on how the whole process is going to go, but it's going to be a lot easier to use. And one very, very important thing is that the new AA has a new mechanic that will be, you know, working. When you activate it, I'm not sure where did they actually put this. Maybe it's actually here. Anyway, the new priority sector will... here it is. So basically, the second that I activate the new sector, my AA will immediately do 5% damage to the plane squadron. 5% of the total HP that my planes have. So if we take a look at like tier 10 planes, they have a couple of thousand HP each. There's like 12 of them. You enter my AA range. I activate the sector reinforcement. When I take a look at your HP, you take the entire number, and then you take 5% of that, and you immediately do that damage to the planes. If this is confusing, I'll explain. Do not go too detailed in numbers. This is what's basically going to happen. You enter my AA. I activate the sector reinforcement. I immediately do 3,000-4,000 damage to your planes. Because that's 5% of your total HP. But I do not do this damage across all of your planes. Because ever since 085, one plane at a time is taking the damage. So what will this mean is that if your planes have 2,000 HP each, and I do 3,500 damage with that 5% sector boost immediately, I will immediately shoot one of your planes and leave the other one very crippled. And then my AA will continue to shred that plane until it's dead, and then it will move to the next one, and next one, and next one. You can say like, okay, so what happens if a couple of ships get engaged and they all activate this? Do I immediately lose like 5-6 planes? Yes and no. Because the first ship will do 5% of the total HP pool, which will then get dropped. And then the second ship will have a lower total HP pool to do the 5% on. So the first time it will be 3.5, the second time it will be like 2.7, the third time it will be 1.8, and so on. So your planes will not go out immediately that fast, but they will still be taking a large portions of the damage. Basically, attacking big groups is going to be a big no-no, unless you're prepared to lose a lot of planes. And this will require, I guess, more slingshots. That I don't know if they actually plan to change that. I don't think we've talked about it, but you will need full squadrons to basically get in and do damage, but you will be having heavy losses. Then again, you can look at it from this way. What if I go in with half a squadron, and instead of 3,000 HP, because I have half of the planes, I will be taking, let's say, 1,500 HP. So even the first plane will still be alive with 500 HP. Yes, okay, but then you only have 6 planes. And that continuous DPS will be nuking those planes one by one by one by one. Are you even going to have enough planes to actually get in and drop? This is like all these 3 patches are boosting the AA quite significantly. And without any tweaks to the planes, I think this is going to be too strong. We've tried it on the test server, and you can really feel the difference. Like AA ships have not such a hard time nuking planes. The speed in which you will be losing these planes is tremendous. And one of the biggest problems that I have with it is like all the ships that have the same AA detection range as their AA range will now be super strong. Because let's say Worcester or Mino, well, yeah, Mino, like I can't spot you till I get to, I don't know, 6 point, let's just keep it simple, let's just say 6. When I enter 6, you immediately trigger your defensive AA or the sector priority thingy, and you immediately nuke 5%, and then you start doing very high continuous DPS. By the time I leave, I already lost like a lot of planes without even doing anything. Plus, there's that bloom of actually spotting ships. So, stop losing your shit when they announce the hotfix where they will boost the AA, sorry, not the AA, the HP of the planes. Because I think with all this in mind, there will be a need to boost the HP of planes, or maybe change something. This is all, of course, work in progress. They will be monitoring this closely and trying to tweak it, but they are heavily invested in the counterplay to carriers and planes. I don't think carriers will be useless, but they won't have an easy life. Not anymore, thank God. And yeah, what about spotting? We're conducting several design tests. We're willing to address this topic by tweaking or by mechanics update if necessary. However, it should be done when the changes announced have cumulative effect. Remember, the engine boost influence on efficiency. Yeah, in one of the graphs up there, you saw that even when just a small minor change, such as engine boost changed, the efficiency drops significantly from the carriers. In general, they understand they did something wrong. They're working on it. They will try to do better in the future. They are really buffing the AA. They will be buffing probably planes and carriers as well. Scouting will come after everything is said and done, but in the next couple of patches, we will be seeing some very interesting interaction between carriers and the counter gameplay. This is the part number 2, which was very interesting and probably good for you to get an insight and know. But now in the part number 3 comes the most spicy thing, in my opinion.
So, hello. I don't have a nice presentation, a nice slide with my photo, so I'll just tell you who I am. I'm Alexander, lead game designer for World of Warships, and the feature we want to present you called Naval Training Center.
Okay, so now we have arrived at the third and personally the most interesting and entertaining part of the video. Naval Training Center. It's something that you have no idea what it is. It's completely new. It's an entirely new mechanic in the game. And it won't influence anything within the match itself. Like, it's not changing the game inside a match at all. But it will gradually change how you approach the game, how long you play the game, how much you're willing to invest in the game, how much time it will take you to do certain things, and the rewards. What am I talking about? Alright, so they call it possibility to strengthen individual ships further. I don't call this possibility. I call this insane buffing across all ships in a relatively unbalanced way. We disagree. I will present my case here. I will tell you their aspect of it. To a certain degree, I think we're both correct and probably both wrong. This is super heavy work in progress. But this is one of the major spicy things that we were doing in St.Pete. Or we were being, introduced to. And I will probably be implementing a couple of video clips live from the presentation where you can see our shock. Or at least hear it. Now, Kitty, please get off my table. Thank you very much. Okay. So, 2 new pillars. Possibility to strengthen individual ships further. Bringing new gameplay. Revisiting old favorites. I don't really think this is gameplay, but here we go. How leveling works. You have 3 levels for every tier 6 plus ship. You have 3 levels for every tier plus ship. You get them by spending new currency. More currency. Yes. It can be national or it can be free. Alright, so before we continue with the presentation, now I have to tell you how this works. What this is all about. Every ship, starting from tier 6 to tier 10, will get, in a tech tree, let's just call it a snowflake. A purple snowflake. That's how they presented it. It's not going to probably be purple, and it's probably not going to be a snowflake, but, just for the sake of the argument. So when you enter your tech tree, you will be seeing something added to the ship. The only way for you to collect this is to research it and play it and grind it. And when you're done playing it and grinding it, you will have this resource. This is the new resource. And you will be using this new resource to pick one of the ships in the tech tree and invest it in there. And you will be getting 3 new tiers of upgrades. What upgrades these are, how big, how significant they are, it's all super heavy work in progress, but they gave us the initial values, and I can tell you they're pretty insane. This is how these 3 tier of upgrades will look like. I'm sorry, the presentation is in Russian, but that's what they showed us. So, tier 1 upgrade, tier 2 upgrade, tier 3 upgrade. You can't take tier 2 before you have researched and unlocked and used tier 1. And you can't use tier 3 before you get a tier 2. From what I understood, you will need only 1 point to unlock the tier 1. You will need 6 points. No, sorry, you will need 3 points for the tier 2, and you will need 6 points for the tier 3. This is going to be a lot to take in, okay? So bear with me. We're trying to take this nice and slow. Basically, from tier 6 to tier 10, you will be getting 3 new possible upgrades you can take. You will be getting points that you can invest, and these points will cost, you know, I don't know how many points you will get per season, but I think they said 3. And you will need to invest 1 here, 3 here, 6 here. There will be multiple seasons in which this will be introduced, and you won't be able to go immediately 1 ship to tier 3 upgrade, because in total, if you need 1, 3, and 6, that means you need what, 10 of these points, and you will be only getting 3 per season. So the best you can do is get level 1 upgrade on 3 different ships, or you can get maybe level 1 upgrade on 1 ship and then save 2 points, and then in the next season when you get 3 more, you're going to be able to go level 2 and have some in reserves, but it doesn't really pay off. You can just take different variations. How will you be able to get these points is where my mind exploded. Keep calm, it's grind time. You will have to forget and regrind branches, limited by season. Some other activities possible in the future. Whole bunch of things in Russian, where it's kind of... I will explain. I just want to get to this screen. Unfortunately, I can't really zoom this in. Alright, so what are we talking about here? Let's say that this is the text tree. You can see that here, 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 and here. These ships, I don't know why they put tier 5. They said tier 6 plus. So let's ignore Omaha for now. Pensacola, New Orleans, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Des Moines. They have these purple snowflakes. How does this work? First time when you start playing the game, you, let's say, research, and you get yourself to the Des Moines. You grind everything, you get a Des Moines, you're super happy, you got yourself a tier 10, yippee, let's go. You won't be seeing these. Your first grind will not count. This is an important thing to understand. The first grind doesn't count. So to all of you out there who grinded through anything or everything like I did, doesn't matter. Well, you're 1 step closer and ahead of everyone, but you will have to go through it again. So for example, heavy cruisers, like I think this way they're showing you that it's the entire US nation, so you can do it everywhere, but let's just focus on this. Let's just say that for the first season they decide it's going to be US cruisers and probably something more. They could maybe unlock the entire US nation and be like, the entire US nation is up for regrind. What is this? You will have to click, I think, one of these buttons to forget the entire text tree. So everything that you researched will be now unresearched. All the ships that you bought with all the modules, all the upgrades, all the consumables, all the everything will be immediately sold. You will be getting credits and appropriate compensation for this. And you basically are now having your US tech tree cruiser line completely unresearched. You don't own a single ship. You don't have a single ship researched. You go again. But this time, you will be getting these snowflakes that you can collect. So you will have to regrind through the entire line in order to get these resources. And these resources, in combined with what I told you, that the first one will cost 1, the second one will cost 3, and the third one will cost 6. When you combine those resources, which is probably this, with... Sorry, when you combine these resources which I'm guessing is this. And when you combine that to 1, 3, or 6 points, and these points are probably going to be here, you will be able to unlock these special upgrades. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you at this point are losing your mind and be like, Wargaming, you lost it. You guys lost your mind. Why would anyone want to research this? I can only give you one reason. These upgrades are powerful as fuck. They are really good and really strong. And they stack. Keep that in mind. So, it will take you, they say it will take you a long time to actually get a tier 3 upgrade, because this will be coming in batches, this will be coming in seasons, and you won't be able to do regrinds and forgetting of the line whatever you want whenever you want. You will be able to do this within the season. Once you forget the line, this gets unlocked, you can regrind it whenever you want, but once the season is done, you won't be able to forget a certain line to get it unlocked. So you will have to forget these lines within season in order to start the grind process. When will you finish the grind process will not matter. And, you know, 2 types of resources in order for you to eventually even unlock this. So, players are running out of mid and long-term goals. 4 years and kicking. That's why they're doing it. Okay. Player activity always exceeds our expectations. Ship branches are the biggest consumer of 3D resources. Our game is about progression, so new stuff should beat along. We didn't want to go tier 11 plus because it's a whole nother nightmare. Let's have a look at this flowchart. This is like, what the hell is that? I don't know. Snowflakes worked really good as revisiting incentive. CV rework, a lot of people were forgetting branches to grind them back. Popularity of twink accounts, I'm guessing like double. Various streamer challenges. When it comes to the strain on the economy, they're already generous and they're not afraid to be more generous. I will explain this in a bit. And this is why. Additional strain on the economy. You will have to sell all the ships. You get only 50% back and now you will have to rebuy them. First step is no more premium consumables anymore. So, the damage control party 1, smoke screen, speed boost, everything with 1 is going to disappear. No more standard consumables. All standard consumables will now be replaced with premium consumables, but they don't take the price with them. They will be free. So this way, they're kind of lowering the skill gap between the players, because a lot of people, apparently, according to them, don't even use premium consumables. Like, huge portion of the player base, apparently, doesn't use premium consumables. And they are, I think, #1 thing that eats your credits. So this way, you will be spending a lot less credits. You won't be earning more, but you will be spending a lot less, which translated means earning more. And you won't have to dwell, did I mount the premium consumables or not? Luckily for me, right? I don't know if you can really balance this to the entire tech tree being sold and have to regrind it, but okay. It's speeding up grind, stuff we're always done. Limits on earnings help us manage accumulated savings. Additional limit for clan wars and clan brawls to avoid entrance barrier. We're gifting 1 free level for everyone at start as well. Training room may follow. No upgrades for CVs on release. We're still working on AA. We're preparing priority sector improvements. We're not buffing AA in this new feature as yet. Some other system changes for counterplay. Okay, just wanted to go through this so you know what's inside here, but I have a lot to tell you that's not inside here. So, eventually there will be no more premium consumables. All premium consumables will become regular consumables with their values, and they will be free. So it's a total boost. Now let's go back to the really important thing, which now we're getting to the super spicy stuff. The first time that you grind everything, you don't get the option to grind these resources, and you get these resources by researching these the second time. So everything that we grinded eventually will have to be forgotten and regrind again. But you won't have to do it only once. That's the crazy part. You'll have to do it 6 times. Plus the 1, which is original. So eventually, you will be regrinding everything 7 times.
Don't you think the people who want to do it in order are way fewer than the people who want to do it anyway?
Not really. I mean, we wouldn't do a feature if we wouldn't see in data that there is a good enough chunk of audience ready for it.
Okay, so if I understood this correctly, I will need to pick for each nation at least one line and start from the super small, I don't know, is it tier 1 or tier 2? And then work my way to tier 10. And then let's say the tier 10 is the one that I want to collect enough. And then I can use from that tier 10 to everything else, correct? But at least one line I will have to grind through.
To get some resources, yes.
Yeah. So you will make players buy at least one entire tech tree line per nation. And the number one problem that people have with today's grind is buying ships. Because
Silver.
they don't have credits.
Silver, and that's why we're removing premium consumables.
That's going to be enough to buy 9 ships.
Premium, like...
But you have to grind through at least one line.
Yes.
What are you going to do without the resources?
I'm not sure. Maybe I misunderstood the question. Can you repeat it? Like, what's the...
Do you have to go through the entire tech tree line, which means rebuying every ship? Like, I want to go with USDDs, for example. I will have to buy Samson, Wix, Clemson, Nicholas, and grind through each one of them.
To get those snowflakes after you've forgotten the branch? Yes.
This is really absurd and insane, in my opinion. I kind of like the idea. I'll give you pros and cons. I like the idea, and I hate it in the same time. I hate that they will force me to go through some of these ships again. And I love the idea because it will give me a reason to play some of the ships that I actually am okay with, but I don't prefer playing them. Or I forgot about them. Flammo was super happy about this because he's like, what else am I gonna do? This is gonna give me a reason to go through everything again. I can understand it from his perspective, but I can't understand it from the regular point of view of a regular player. Regular player is super happy when they finally get their tier 10, and most of them can't afford to even buy it. Yes, with the new premium consumables being free, you will be able to get credits faster, but credits are still number one problem to majority of the people when it comes to getting ships. And then there's modules and upgrades. It's a huge investment of like 50-60 million per tier 10. And then there's all these other things. Now you're trying to sell everything from them and make them go through it again? Problem number 1. Problem number 2. Who the hell is gonna have time to do this? Like, there's already so much complaining and bitching from people that they don't have the time to play the game, but they want all the rewards, which is when I always tell them, dude, listen to yourself. If you don't have the time to play the damn game and you don't want to invest anything in it, you won't be getting anything. I want Balansgrad. Play the game. I don't have the time. Then don't get it. Easy. But now they're taking that to a whole new absurd level, because grinding through everything once takes forever, and I hate the grind. After 30,000+ games in World of Tanks, couple of thousand games in World of Warplanes, and I don't know, I'm closing in probably on 20,000 games in World of Warships. I don't want to fucking regrind everything again. 6 times, dude! But we still don't know how much of these resources it will take. One thing that's kind of concerning to me, and we left St. Petersburg with this being kind of left in the air. Free experience. Like, there's dudes out there like me that have accumulated so much free experience that you might be thinking, Flambus, why are you making such a big thing out of this? You can just free XP through everything. If this is going to be the case, then I'm going to be a bit easier at mind. I'm not going to be complaining as much because I really don't want to grind through Pensacola again, for example. But I remember one of these developers saying that there's a large portion of us who are sitting on huge free XP pools, and we won't be able to do it entirely with free XP. So we will have to get engaged to a certain degree, to a certain level, without the free XP. How much? I don't know. Will we be truly able to get everything researched again with free XP? I don't know. Flamus says yes. The dude that was explaining this to us, as far as I recall, said no. Nobody gave us any numbers because they don't know themselves. This is super heavy work in progress and super early. We have no idea when it's going to arrive, but it's probably going to arrive. And this will prolong what everybody has to do for a long time. But we also have to look at it from another perspective. You won't just get 300 ships to grind 7 times in the same time. You will get I think they said three ship lines to regrind once. That will be one season. And that will last probably a few months. And then when that season is done, new season will arrive with 3 new lines, and so on and so on. And so this will take years probably. This will probably take years until you get the first tier 3 upgrade and you regrinded everything at least once. So in the meantime, I don't know. This will be tempoed. One of the major problems that I have is eventually, there will be people with tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 upgrades on their ships playing against people who are grinding their ships for the first time. They don't even have the modules and upgrades on them yet. They are total noobs. They don't know how to play the ship. And now they're meeting ships which are fully researched, with tier 3 upgrades, which are significant, and I will tell you in a second what they are, and have all the modules, all the captain, everything. The skill gap is getting increased by a huge margin. Why? Because good players are getting their ships even more powerful. Bad players are getting their ships even more powerful as well, but bad player doesn't know how to use it anyway. So they will be just piñatas. This is the argument that we tried to make, and Wargaming tried to say, well, you're both getting the upgrades. It's the same deal. Whether you both have 50k or whether you both have 100k, you still have the same boost, both of you. So, true, but some of the ships are probably be going through the roof. Third problem that I have with this is all the ships will be getting... Okay, not all the ships. They're bound by class. So all the cruisers in the game of all the tiers will be getting the same upgrades. All the battleships of all nations of all the tiers will be getting same upgrades. So, for example, Gearing is getting the same buffs as Yumikaze is. True, it is in percentage. It's not numbers, raw numbers, it's in percentage. So on tier 2, these numbers will be a lot lower, even though the percentage is the same. But in tier 10, it will be a lot higher. I'm not really sure that it's a good idea to give all ships of the same class of all the nations across all tiers the same kind of buffs. Some of these ships are already basically trying to go through the roof in certain to a certain degree. Some of the features they have are already too strong, and now they're going to be even stronger. Yes, everybody else will be stronger as well, but to certain ships, these will be really nice buffs to finally be like, now this feels good. But certain ships already have features that are like, this is insane, and now it's getting buffed. Let's get into the upgrades. Let me just find them. Here we go. Okay, so tier 1 upgrade for all battleships across all tiers and all nations. Mark how we say all nations. There's going to be no flavors. Tier 1 upgrade. First upgrade is 15% HP buff. So whether you're in a Kavachi or Yamato, your ship will be getting 15% buff. Of course, you can't get them on all the ships. You will be having to cherry pick which ship you will invest your resources in. So you won't be able to have all the battleships with all these upgrades. That will take you a lifetime. You will have to, let's say, pick Yamato, and then your Yamato will have 15% HP buff. Or if you want to go with a Kavachi, your Kavachi will have 15% HP buff, whatever. The tier 2 upgrade, once you finally get it, will be 10% dispersion boost. Tell me, do you want to see Yamato with additional 10% accuracy? Or Slava, for that example? Yes, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, even though I can't hear you. Although I'm pretty sure I will read a lot of comments in the comment section. However, I can give you other ships, for example, ships like Tirpitz, Bismarck. They will be enjoying the crap out of this, because finally, their accuracy will feel good. But ships that are already super accurate will be insane. Fucking insane. This is my problem. Tier 3 upgrade. 10% faster reload of consumables. So, you know that captain skill? I think it's called Jack of all trades. Minus 5% reload to all consumables. Plus the flag that you get for high caliber. Another 5% to consumables. Well, this will now give you 10%. And all your consumables will get +1. So, for example, Kremlin, instead of carrying, 5 damage control parties, will be carrying 6. If you have a Kuznetsov in your score First Blood, you will be having 7. Plus its own special skill, which is kind of 8. Or, let's say you're sailing around in Kid, you have 4 heals. Sorry, Kid is a destroyer. Let's go with cruisers. First tier buff to all cruisers across all tiers and nations. 10% HP buff. So BBs get 15. Cruisers get 10. Rudder shift time, 20% buff. Certain ships already have insane rudder shift time. And now you're boosting it for another 20%? Can you even imagine a Zal? That thing is going to be like a destroyer. Another crazy thing. Ships like battle cruisers, which are designated as cruisers in the game, count as cruisers. They will be getting these buffs as well. So you will have battle cruisers that feel like light cruisers. Okay, that's tier 1. Tier 2, 15% dispersion. This is where everybody started saying, okay, Stalingrad, anyone? 50% better dispersion? Right. And third upgrade, 10% faster reload of consumables and +1 to all the consumables. So exactly the same as battleships. So BBs get 15% HP buff, cruisers get 10 plus rudder. Battleships get 10% dispersion, cruisers get 15. Battleships get 10% faster reload with consumables and +1. Cruisers get 10% faster reload with consumables and +1. Now we get to destroyers. Tier 1, 10% HP. So just like cruisers, they're getting 10% HP buff. Faster repair of steering and engine. this is the question: how faster is this engine and steering going to be repaired? Because with the upgrades and this, you might not even need last stand eventually, which might turn to some really interesting captain builds. We'll see. Tier 2 upgrade for DDs. 15% faster torp reload. Some of the destroyers out there are going to be enjoying this because this is going to finally bring them up to par with the rest. You have destroyers like Grozovoy and stuff like that, which have really long reloads of torpedoes. With this, they're gonna feel good. But some ships out there already have insane torp reload, and now we're buffing it 15% more. And the tier 3 upgrade for destroyers is 10% more torpedo damage. So, all the ships are getting blatantly buffed. Do you want to hear the penalties of this? You know, you have legendary modules. For each legendary module that you grind, you have to basically give up something, which is pretty significant, to gain something, which is pretty significant. The penalties are... there are no penalties. It's straight buffs all across the board. And also, I just realized that I was saying Kawachi is going to be getting the same buffs as Yamato, while it's only going to be tier 5 or tier 6 ships plus. So, okay. First couple of tiers of ships will not be getting any buffs, but starting from tier 5 or 6, all the way to tier 10, the same buffs across all classes and all nations. Wargaming's idea is, you know, to give you something to play, and to make you basically go through different ships that you long forgotten, which I guess is okay, and everything is getting buffed, so if you're getting buffed, so is your opponent. Yeah, but still, it's like some of the ships are too strong in certain areas, and you're going to be giving them all of this. And one very important thing to know is these things will stack. So your tier 1 upgrade won't get replaced by tier 2. Your tier 2 won't be replaced by tier 3. Your battleship, once you have a tier 3 upgrade, will be having all 3 tiers of upgrades. So you will have 15% HP buff, and 10% better dispersion, and 10% faster reload of consumables, and +1 consumable. Your cruiser will have 10% HP buff, 20% rudder shift, 15% dispersion, 10% faster reload of consumables, and +1. Your DD will have 10% better HP, faster repair of steering and engine, 15% faster torpedo reload, and 10% torpedo damage.
So can you please explain to us these 3 tiers of upgrades? You said they will stack. You will have all of this.
Yes.
No further questions?
As we said, it's about 1/2 of your boost from your models, from your consumables, from your perks, and from your upgrades. It's really less than all these things, about 3 times.
Yeah. They were telling about us this really close monitoring of ships. This really... the place where they try to bring all the ships as close as they can to each other. And then with this, they're basically going to throw 100 ships at least out of balance. Yes, okay, they say they will be closely monitoring this. These numbers that I'm giving you are work in progress, and they may not be completely different. They could be twice as strong or 5 times less strong for all I know when they get released, or for all they know in the moment. The mind-boggling thing about me was the guy that was presenting this to us kept trying to tell us that this is not significant. That this is really just... it's a minor thing. And we're staring at him in disbelief, like, hello? Your legendary upgrades, which were a huge thing, required really long grinds, and they had major penalties. And now you're bringing in ships with even crazier grind that will include a lot of economy problems, which you think you're kind of balancing with just what? Repair consumable being free? Or consumables in general? And there's no penalties for this. So their original idea is super crazy, probably super unbalanced, and is going to cause a lot of problems to people who are going to be like, oh my god, I'm grinding this and it's gonna mean nothing. I'm gonna have to eventually just forget it and regrind it again. Like, for real? So from that kind of a perspective, that's all the downsides. The good sides is, well, eventually you're going to be able to buff your ships even further, your favorite ships, which is kind of nice. And you're going to be going through certain ships again, which could be fun, or a nightmare, depending on the ship. And they're kind of giving you more reason to play across all tiers, which means that when it comes to matchmaking, we're probably going to make it a lot easier for the matchmaking, because people are all of a sudden going to be playing across all tiers, because they're going to be doing the regrinds. You tell me in the comments below what you think about this. I think this idea is pretty crazy, and I like it and I hate it in the same time. Like, the pros that it gives are insane, and the cons that it gives are insane. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be like an hour-long video, judging by the time, and at least probably even longer. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much for Wargaming for let us know about all this and letting us tell you, our audiences, about this. Let us prepare you. We want the feedback. Like, please tell us what you think about this. Do you think some of these things are good? Do you think some of these things are bad? Just remember, this is Wargaming's game. They're free to do whatever they want with it, and the sky isn't always on fire, and buildings aren't always being crumbled. As shocking as this was for us, as I'm sure I will show you, or I already showed you some of the clips from the live event. As shocking as this was for us, we were... I don't know. We will see. We will just have to see. This was day 2. Day 1 stays full NDA. This was day 2. And the day 3 is basically the whole trip outside, hanging around and all that stuff, and I will probably be making video about that separately, because if I wanted to include this here, this would be a 2-hour video. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to turn out. Is this going to be a good or a bad thing, or a mixture? I just hope they stay on top of things and they hotfix and balance the crap out of this when they finally release it, whenever this may be. Right now we're focused on carriers and trying to, you know, balance them, the play and the counterplay, to finally not have everybody rage about carriers and to make it fun to play and play against. Hopefully that was useful for you too. You saw the whole balancing process. You saw consumables. You saw these new Naval Training Center, aka Paragons as they call them. And the one last thing that I actually forgot to mention is there will be destructible icebergs. I'm sure you heard something about this. And these destructible icebergs will be looking slightly different. To us who knew we were looking for them, they were pretty obvious. To a new player, I'm not sure how obvious is it going to be. But you will see this yourself, as I'm sure I will show you in a clip as well.
I understand you're eager to push them, but you know, so am I.
I'll ruin his life.
Oh, he's eager to push you out of the...
Yeah, clearly. It doesn't really feel like the icebergs do anything, is my problem.
No, you destroy them in the first 2 minutes of the game, which is exactly how long you need to even reach the cast. That's the problem.
What's this?
Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like or a dislike. Make sure you leave a comment, share it. make sure that the biggest amount of audience actually gets a hold and, you know, reach it, that this video and others like it reach the audience so they know what they're in for, the changes that they might be coming. And thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Wargaming, for sharing this with us. Whether we agree or not, it was a wonderful experience to actually go through all of this and interact with them and the other CCs. I'll see you dudes soon. And sorry if this video was too long, and too late. But the embargo was 3 p.m. Central European Summer Time, so I couldn't publish it sooner. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the stream.